Water.
Earth.
Fire.
Air. This is... What were you saying? This is Yip Yip.
Hooray!
An Avatar podcast.
Burger Bun for one of the technical challenges?
Not this year.
Okay,
Oh.
I think last season, Paul and Prue, they sat down and they were like, okay, we're going to really scale back a little bit this season. We don't want to intimidate them too much. So, and then he brandished what they were doing. He's like, so we're going to do some hamburger buns. And I was like, what is this not?
I vaguely remember that because I was like, Maddie used to make those no problem in college. She'd be like, we don't need to buy buns, I'll just make some. And I'd be like, what? And then boom, she'd have them made. No problem.
Okay, so this is how little I know about cakes and baking in general. I had no idea that to create a layer cake, you actually physically had to make multiple cakes and then physically layer them. My mind was blown, and I was late teenager when I found that out. I just thought the cakes kind of ended up that way. I didn't know that you had multiple of them. It was oh, this wasn't. Yeah, I kind of overthought that.
This is people who think
know a lot about
chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
I'm not proud of this fact of mine. I'm not happy with it. I'm ashamed is what I am. But yeah, things changed a lot after that. I was like, oh wow, I could do that. That's not that hard. You just take multiple cakes. Crazy. Katie, do you have any stories like that with baking? A baking revelation?
I've known it all since the beginning.
Jessica, you have to have a awkward baking story, right? Oh, I didn't know that.
So many.
So many awkward baking stories. Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head.
It's hard to be perfect.
Yeah, it's hard, yeah.
So what did you have
I
to
think
do? You
fondant's
made caramel?
gross. What?
You had to make caramel?
Yeah,
What
so
did you do?
I made a Danish cornucopia. So the cookie part was egg whites and ground almonds, which I ground my own almonds, but turns out you can use almond flour, which doesn't use the brown parts of the almonds. So mine's already browner than it's supposed to be.
How macaroni was it?
They're pretty macaroni.
Pretty macaroni.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah, it's really funny.
They're Yankee Doodle Dandy. And so you bake those. Oh, so they're shaping them, which I shaped them incorrectly because I didn't understand because it's supposed to curve to make the cornucopia, and mine's Greg called it a
I know
megaphone.
it's kind of trumpety.
Yeah, trumpety, definitely. And then so you bake that, and then you have to temper chocolate, and then you make these chocolate scroll work that you're gonna put on top. And that was a big disaster on my end. Tempering chocolate's hard. I don't really have a piping bag situation. It was awkward. And then so I finally got done with that. So then I made the icing, and then I decided to use a Ziploc bag with the tip. And then as I'm icing them, the Ziploc bag explodes.
Oh no.
No. And
This
then
is
you
an
make
awkward
caramel
baking story.
to stick the cookies together to make the cornucopia shape. And then I was like, oh, this looks really good. And then I burned it. And so then I made a second one. And then it's really hot caramel. And you have to dip the cookies in. And then one of the cookies split in half. And so half of it fell down. So in the middle of the cookie. So not even the part with the caramel, the whole thing. It just and then you put the chocolate scroll roll on top. And it's a lot. And it's in the freezer now. And hopefully it holds up for another hour.
What was that word? Chocolate. What'd you say?
Scroll
work.
So I had to pipe these fancy shape with the chocolate, and then you flip it over because there's a flat side, and then you pipe on top of it so it's a 3D shape.
So do you want to make it again?
No, never again.
I think that's every technical challenge on Bake Off. They get done and nah, I'm good forever.
Yeah.
Especially those hamburger buns.
They might have been really good hamburger buns. They actually had to make hamburger patties too. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And then they had to eat them both.
The grill outside. I don't know.
No, they didn't do that on the grill outside. That was for the naan bread, which was a final. God. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
oh, we've made bonfires for you. Mm-hmm. Enjoy.
Okay. What?
So, enough about that. Did you know that Aang's favorite dessert is egg tarts?
No, is that
Or maybe it was a fruit tart.
canon from one of the episodes? Or is that
It
in like the
was from the
extended
Great
universe?
Divide. It was from the Great Divide.
Oh, when he taught those
Great
people
episode.
about the joys of children playing a game where he lies to them, basically.
Yeah, to be the peacekeeper.
And we're back, germs.
You better take that back.
Germs?
Oh, excuse me. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not cool to say. Could we be Crazy Ira and the douche from Parks and Rec?
No.
Crazy Ira and the douche.
So terrible.
Is that Nick Kroll? Nick Kroll's the douche, right? God, he's
Nick Kroll's the
awful in
douche.
that.
Crazy Ira is Matt Besser.
What two terrible characters. Good God. Okay, so the last time we talked to Jessica, we were getting her hot take from the Western Air Temple. You hadn't
That
watched.
is so rude.
Well,
We're in the middle of a sesh.
Does professionalism mean nothing to you, McLean?
I was turning up the sound.
You'll never work in this town again. My God. And by this town, I mean Tillamook. You'll never work in Tillamook ever again.
Okay, so the last time we were talking to Jessica.
We got some hot takes about the Western Air Temple. You hadn't watched Firebending Masters yet. So what I want from you, Jessica, is I want to hear how Zuko joining this little menagerie we got is going for you so far. How's Zuko and the gang for you?
Well, I enjoy that Zuko like almost immediately failed at being the firebender teacher. And I was like, see, told you, terrible. He was gonna be terrible. And he's like, oh man, I can't even do this. But I felt like the gang kind of took it and like they took it well that he like couldn't even firebend anymore. They're like,
Oh yeah, they were
"It's
very
okay."
excited. Well, but then you have like Katara who hates Zuko in this moment.
Yeah,
she's
like
oh, that's
full on.
convenient.
I was a little bit shocked of how much she hated him. She was
I know,
really
there's
burned by
definitely a
him
lot.
in that little their like alone time in the underground cave or whatever.
So much resentment. I mean, they had a moment, and I mean, who knows what they were talking about in that cave?
That's true.
Besides from what we know they talked about.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think about the dragons?
Oh, I love the
Dragon.
dragons. I thought it was cool that it turns out Uncle Iroh didn't kill the dragons, so we can still be Team Uncle Iroh and not be like, really? Kill the dragon? That sucks.
Always
The last
Uncle Fire.
dragon. I thought it was funny there was like this whole society of people that the Fire Nation didn't even know still existed, but like Zuko kind of and kind of like Aang, sorry.
Who?
Get it together, Jessica.
And Aang just like kind of like
Jessica.
stumble and they're like, oh, here's this whole society. I was like, did no one else go to the ruins?
Do we not believe that no one knows about the existence of these people? Or maybe Zuko's just so terrible at being the prince that he's the only one of like his family that doesn't know of their existence.
I mean, probably.
Maybe he read about it in the scrolls when he was finding out about grandpas.
Yeah. I enjoyed that they had to like dance for the dragons.
Dance for the dragons.
And they were like, we gotta do the dragon move dance. You and Katie should do a little video of you guys doing the dragon dance.
Well, that's
I
adorable.
definitely feel like we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, we know the moves pretty well. They go through them pretty explicitly in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Zuko, I want you to dance with me. What?
He's like, just go with it.
What do you think about Zuko and Aang's chemistry?
I like it. I think they're cute together. I love all the one-on-one adventures everyone gets to take. I'm a little sad that Zuko and Toph don't get a one-on-one adventure.
I would say Zuko and Toph do. They sit outside the auditorium in Ember Island Players and have like intermission moment.
Yeah, where she slugs him in the arm.
Yeah, but they didn't like go like commandeer Appa for an adventure together.
They wouldn't commandeer Momo for an adventure.
No.
What kind of adventure would you want Zuko and Toph to go on?
That's a good question. Maybe, I mean, Toph hasn't really... Where did we leave Toph's... No, last time we met Toph's parents, she sent them a letter and was like, hey, my bad.
Yeah, she steals Hockey, our new best friend, animal companion. They help her craft a letter to her parents saying, hey, we're in the Fire Nation. We're cool, right? And then sends it off. I'm presuming that bird doesn't make it to the Beifong estate. That bird has to travel like a quarter of the way across the world.
But I think it would have been fun if, like, Hockey came back and Zuko had some special, like, knew, like, the special keyword to make Hockey, like, actually, like, work correctly. And then he and Toph, like, went on an adventure. And then her parents, like, had, like, secret Earth Nation army that, like, came to help them. Like, that's what should have happened.
Aw, that would be nice. Are we gonna get a spec script from you about this? The missing Toph Zuko adventure?
Yeah. I'll post it on archive our own fanfiction.net.
Oh my god.
How it really should have went down.
Yeah.
What kind of adventure would you like to see Toph and Zuko go on?
I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole because it didn't happen, but I agree it should have happened. There should be more Toph and Zuko.
I just think there needs to be more Toph, like, because we've addressed that Toph isn't a part of, like, that main three. Like, she doesn't get enough, like, character development or too many story arcs that are dedicated to Toph. Mm-hmm. Like, Toph is just kind of used to conveniently get us out of situations and pickles, if you will.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'd like to see more growth with her.
I mean, it was nice in the Fire Masters episode that we get to find out, like, a little bit more about how she taught herself how to see using her earthbending. And then she was like, maybe try something like that. So that would have been kind of cool for Toph to have gone with them to meet the dragons.
That's true. I mean, that seems like a bit of an omission. I mean, that would have made a fun dynamic for sure. But I also I like this theory that maybe your bending is strengthened if you learn from the original bender of that discipline. Like, Toph is clearly, like, the best earthbender in the world. Maybe partly because she learned from the badger moles. And then we get Aang and Zuko kind of get an upgrade in their firebending by learning the dragon dance and then learning from dragons. I don't know how you can learn from the moon, but
I was going to say, is the moon the original waterbender?
I guess, which I don't believe because the rest are animals, and then you get the moon. I mean, to keep consistency, you would have thought that maybe the sun would have been the original firebender, then the dragons were, like, the first practitioners. I don't know, it seems like a little bit of a hole there for me.
It does feel like if it's the moon, then it should be the sun.
Right, like, you know that there's, like, some fish creature that is, like, bending the water out there. That was, like, the first practitioner.
I was thinking like a whale, but
I also thought a whale.
Okay, a whale, that's a good option. Okay, you guys.
I feel like Whale Rider.
I'm sorry, a mammal. A water-bound mammal. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, the moon is not. No.
Yeah, sorry, Yue. Ugh.
I mean, that's all fine, but...
There's this theory on Reddit that Yue was actually supposed to be the next incarnation of the Avatar because the next Avatar is supposed to be born to the water tribes. And so Yue was stillborn. And so the theory was that her body was supposed to be the vessel for the Avatar spirit. And because Aang had kind of like messed that up by going into the iceberg for 100 years, he let it so Yue didn't have a soul to be in her body.
Wow.
Yeah. That's intense.
What do you think about that? That hot take.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Okay.
It does make a weird amount of sense to me, too.
I feel like, I mean, we don't know when Aang would have died. I mean, his friends are still alive, so who's to say he wouldn't have still been alive when...
Boomy is hardly alive.
Boomy is hardly a friend.
Boomy is ancient. Boomy, I don't even know. Like, he's rock hard, but I don't know how his body's still holding together. Supplements, probably.
Okay, what happens after Dragon Dance?
They go to the Boiling Rock.
Oh, the Boiling Rock.
Okay, give us your take on Boiling Rock.
Boiling Rock's a good time. Let's see. The prisoner that helps them escape the first time and then the second time just ditches his girlfriend with no comment about being like, those other people that I tried to escape with before, I guess I don't need to escape with them anymore. I thought that was funny. That
Dead to me.
Yeah, he was like, obviously they were holding me back. So.
Yeah, and he's like, I gotta get out of here.
Chit saying, yeah, he got his redemption. He's like, I got my ticket out. It's with you guys.
I thought it was like a cool concept of how the first escape attempt was supposed to go, but I was like, how do they know which jail cell is in the like blind spot between like the two spotters? so that when it came
right,
down...
and how you're going to get captured and thrown specifically into that one, like Sokka had to been like, okay, yeah, so this is the one we're throwing it into.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of stuff went their way. Although I feel like they were very lenient with Sokka's prisoner guard. Like, he was, like, out of control. And they're like, okay, this new guy...
I'm just gonna run in here and I'm gonna punch this person out really quick. Don't mind me. It's not good.
Fire Nation.
I
Yeah,
thought it was funny. You would have thought that Zuko would have been the better fake, like, guard. Like, he would have been the one not to get caught, but of course he gets caught immediately, and then Sokka's like, no problem, pretending to be this, like, Fire Nation guard.
I'm, like, impressed that Sokka gets a 2-part episode with his field trip with Zuko. Like, I was impressed that they made that, like, a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Well, so much happens.
I mean, could it have wrapped up in one episode? I guess, like, the whole, like, bringing his dad there, it kind of restarts the whole thing. I loved how badass Suki was, like, the entire time.
Oh, man.
Like,
so good.
You can see why they put her in the Boiling Rock, because she's awesome.
Maybe she escaped from other prisons, and she was like, we gotta put her in this one. Like, she can't be held.
I mean, she, like, it was kind of like, wow. Like, when she, like, runs up to go get the, like, prison warden, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's so satisfying watching Suki just dish out, like, all sorts of chaos.
And doesn't someone say, like, whoa, where did she come from? Or, like, they're like, whoa.
Well, Hakoda, like, all the boys walk up, like, just out of breath after Suki's like, sorry, Warden, you're my prisoner now, which is a fantastic line. And Hakoda's like, oh, that's some girl. Sokka's like, I know. But just think how much shorter the series would have been had they recruited Suki in the beginning. Like, she just would have, like, everything would have been so much faster. Suki would have solved so many problems.
Yeah, Suki, Toph, from the get-go.
Earth Kingdom girls, that's where it's at.
Apparently.
Get yourself an Earth Kingdom girl.
I mean, yeah, they don't really... I guess there's a couple Earth Kingdom boys they know. But they have, like, no skill, like, even close to those two.
Yeah, Haru's kind of... Yeah, don't... Not an
I mean, there's
Kingdom
Boomy
boy.
and then, like, everyone else.
Well, I mean, there's there's Earth King. There's
Yeah,
Long
sucks.
Fang.
Yeah,
There's Long Fang. There's all
Terrible.
the Dai Li. Dai Li, huh?
Another girl.
No.
Oh, Dudley. Sorry, I was thinking of, what's the...
Judy.
Judy. I was thinking of Judy.
All the Judys.
Okay, but so let's say Sokka and Zuko successfully get the cooler across the boiling lake to the other side. They're just stranded. They're just stranded on, like, the outskirts. Like, are they gonna just avoid the guards for a few days? Like,
Right, but same thing with their actual eventual escape plan. Oh, no, they eventually steal,
they steal a Zeppelin.
yeah, a Zeppelin, that's right, I forgot that. Really lucky break for them that Azula was there.
Who pilots that? Who pilots the Zeppelin? Is Sokka like, oh, I get this?
Jordan and I keep smacking our headphones.
Well, Zuko would probably have to use his fire bending, right? For it to work.
I don't know how the Zeppelin works. I'm assuming it's, I don't know, real Zeppelins are like, helium, right? Like some sort of light gas.
Right, I guess they don't really establish that.
I don't know. I don't know how they got out of there. So, what do we think about Azula being betrayed by both Ty Lee and May?
I don't know when I was like, is May gonna go to protect Zuko? And I was like, he doesn't even really apologize to her. I feel like she deserved more of an apology and an explanation from Zuko before being able to switch over and be like, I mean, I understand her not wanting her ex-boyfriend to die, but, like, Azula's pretty fierce, and for her to, like, make that decision and be like, I don't care what Azula thinks anymore, what's going to happen to me, to protect him, it's pretty powerful, which actually makes me think that their feelings for each other were stronger than I really feel like, I don't know, I feel like a relationship of convenience almost, the way it was depicted when they were hanging out in the Fire Nation. Especially after they have, like, that big fight and they, like, get back together, but it's, like, kind of, I don't know, I never really, like, really felt it between them. But, I mean, I was happy. And then, obviously, Ty Lee, I knew she was going to switch over as soon as she had the opportunity.
She's like, oh, I see an opening. I'm going to take you out, Azula. Good night.
She's like, oh, I don't have to hang out with Azula anymore? I can hang out with these cute boys? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it interesting just with, I mean, if we think about May and Azula, I mean, then I don't know. I mean, do you really feel like that was a real friendship? I mean, there was, no mutual respect. I mean, it didn't seem like that far-fetched for her to care more about Zuko, like that they had something more real and concrete than anything she has with Azula, which was some sort of like loyalty. But I mean, that seemed like that friendship was more out of convenience. Where it's like we have parents that are in charge and, we went to school together. And so this is just kind of, and I'm going to stay in your good graces.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I guess Ty Lee was more of the one, because when Azula goes to round up her friends, May was just kind of bored, right? So she was like, yeah, I'll come with you. Mm-hmm. Whereas Ty Lee, Azula basically forced her to come.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true. She was less afraid of Azula. So it makes more sense that she would. Yeah, I mean, obviously, she had more of a connection with Zuko than Azula. Because Azula, yeah, she's not... I mean, she's like a sociopath. She doesn't have real friendships.
Ugh.
But she was pretty badass on top of that trolley. What are we calling that thing?
Oh, the gondola is what they kept
calling it. The gondola,
it.
yeah, the gondola makes more sense.
Okay, what's your take on Azula being able to propel herself with firebending?
I thought it was insane, but I kind of loved it at the same time because, as you guys know, I'm like weirdly Team Azula.
Mm-hmm.
Troy hates it, but I defend it. I'm really happy that Azula is so capable that she can like just rocket herself around all willy-nilly.
I mean, yeah, it's the concept like it's like a rocket pack, rocket boots.
Ooh, rocket boots.
Because she's using like the blue lightning fire, right?
Well, Katie has called it. What did you call it?
I don't know.
Blue blast-off power is what Katie has dubbed it.
But, right. Azula can she just harnesses any energy, however, whenever. She's just so hardcore. There's nothing she can't do.
But I want to talk about when May and Azula face off, because Azula takes the stance of getting ready to lightning bend, like she was going to kill May. Like that was her goal in that moment. Like there was no like, let's talk this out, let's have like a little spar between friends. Was gonna kill her. Which, damn, Azula.
Yeah, I feel like that's in character for Azula. Like we said, they're not really friends. It's like convenient for her to have these like badass assistants.
Exactly.
That are like the closest people she can find to competency to herself. And even then she like views herself so far above them. Which, I mean, obviously she has blue blast off power.
Right.
But if she was like, hey, you might be my sister-in-law one day. Remember that time where, I tried to murder you in cold blood?
But Azula wants to be an only child.
Yeah, but she barely cares about Zuko. She's not going to care about May.
Okay, so then we fast forward, and here we are. Azula shows back up on a warship, has tracked them down to the Western Air Temple, and is like, hey guys, I'm going to kill you, Zuko. And just announce it.
Yeah, she's just like, obviously I can't manipulate you anymore, so you're worthless to me. So
bye-bye, Zuzu.
Yeah. I mean, she felt no remorse about her mom. She thinks that her mom's dead, right? But we don't know for sure that their mom's dead.
We don't know what happened to Ursa, do we, Katie?
No, and I tried to have Jordan tell me because he knows what happened because it's in the little book that I could read about, but I haven't read it, and he won't tell me, and so I don't know if she's alive, what happened to her. So that's...
What if she was with the dragons? That would have been a cool reveal.
She and Iroh were the firebending masters, like they showed up.
They teach them the dragon dance.
Oh, we still don't know where freaking Iroh is. Greg and I kept being like, oh, is Iroh going to show up now? And then he didn't, and it was sad. And then we're like, oh, is he going to show up now?
All right, where do you think Iroh is?
Working out.
Oh, wait, which episode is it where they make the... Oh, never mind, I remembered. Don't worry about it.
The Guru. That was the Guru, that one. Okay, where is Iroh?
I don't know. Where is Iroh?
What could he be doing? Like, he physically busted himself out of jail.
He's already in shape, so he's not like he needs to work out more. I mean, he's
got to maintain.
Yeah, maintain.
Maybe he does need to work out more, because as we've seen, The Rock was perfectly fine, and then he became even more The Rock.
He doesn't know what the Avatar and his little friends are up to.
Does he?
He doesn't even really know what Zuko's up to.
Does he?
Unless he's following them around.
Can you imagine? Like, we find out Iroh's just been, like, tracking them in the bushes. We get a whole episode dedicated to, like, just where Iroh's been. He was at the Boiling Rock too. That boy.
Yeah, he's like sweeping in the background. You would have seen it if you're paying attention.
Like that episode of Community where Abed like is delivering a baby in the background, but like no one ever like catches it. That's the thing. Like Abed has like this whole adventure in the background of an episode. Okay, so what about Katara and Zuko finally making amends? What do you think about that?
That was good. Of course, it was about her mom. The whole like sequence where they go and it's the wrong guy, and then I don't know. I feel like Zuko was like really gung ho, like, "Oh, I know that pirate. Let's go!" Like, it was kind of like maybe he was like, "Well, I've already had my adventure with Aang, or had my adventure with Sokka. Yeah, Katara, let's go. Let's be friends. I'll go on this adventure with you and prove myself to you."
Well, I do think Zuko's like desperate to kind of fix that relationship with Katara because it's definitely like the weak link of the group. Like everyone else is like pretty cool, except for Katara's bringing everything down by just being really, really angry at Zuko.
Does he even try to apologize or explain why he turned on them after seeming like he wasn't going to turn on them?
Oh, God, no.
And like go with Azula? I mean, that's Katara. I'd still want that.
That seems like a conversation that should have happened.
We can do that in the rewrite, you guys.
That should have been part of his apology.
Yeah, like at the Western Air Temple when he shows up, he's like, "Oh, sorry about hiring the assassin." Like he apologizes for all these things that happened in like season 1, but then doesn't bother being like, "Hey, so when I tried to kill you in those caves, sorry. Hey, Aang, when I, got my sister to shoot you with lightning."
Yeah, that seemed more, I don't know, important.
Not cool. Also, I think Katara should apologize to Zuko because she's the one who ratted out to Azula that they were there trying to live their best life in the tea shop. So Katara owes Zuko an apology.
Katara didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah, but still, she could have just let them live out their days. She knew. Everyone knows that Iroh's a good guy. They knew that from the season 1 finale. And then she'd be like, "Oh, Iroh and Zuko are like having a good time. Obviously, he's in good hands. Things are going to be fine." Could have avoided all this heartache.
Did they know from the season 1 finale? I thought they didn't know.
Yeah, Iroh helps him.
Right.
Because after
he defends the fish.
He shows up when Zhao's about to kill the moon spirit. He's like, "Whatever you do to that spirit, I'll unleash upon you tenfold. Put it down!" And it's so good. But then he's like hanging out with the group after the fish is dead. And he looks over at Yue and he's like, "Hey, you should probably sacrifice yourself to the moon spirit, okay?"
I mean, okay, but in that context, like, you're like, just like, you don't know this guy. He's from the evil Fire Nation. He's the great dragon of the West. And then he's like, "Yeah, your friend should probably kill herself. And maybe it'll be okay for you. And ultimately it'll be better for you guys." But it's still like killing. I don't know. You're not going to trust a guy after that.
Oh, poor Iroh.
I don't know.
Still think Katara owes him an apology. Saying it right now.
Okay, so they make the mistake. The first guy is not the man that Katara is looking for.
But she bloodbends that dude.
Oh, like, so casually.
I know, and Zuko just kind of like looks. Yeah.
Is that the first time she's that's the first time she's bloodbend since the creepy lady, right? What do we call
Which creepy lady is indirectly responsible for Kaya's death. I explained it in the previous episode. Give it a listen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, they waste all this time to track down the wrong dude to bloodbend. What do you think Katara's gonna do with bloodbending from here on out?
I mean, if she's doing it so casually, she doesn't feel any guilt afterwards either. She's not like, "Oh man, now that I like am at peace with what happened to my mom, maybe I shouldn't have bloodbend that guy." She doesn't do that, so I feel like open season on people she doesn't like.
Oh God. Okay, do you think bloodbending's like a crazy, like painful experience?
Maybe it's really relaxing.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Do they like have a painful expression, or are they just like? Is it being like?
I mean, they do kind of like
in period, like in Harry Potter.
Maybe it's just a nice stretch.
Oh, that does sound nice. I mean, they do kind of like contort their bodies a little bit. It's kind of like it seems like it would be an unpleasant experience to me.
It's not like your blood affects your nerves, which would cause pain.
That's true, but I mean, if you like were bending the water in my arm, you could just like flip it up around and like flick it all around, and all of a sudden be like, "Oh, you broke my arm. Thank you. That hurt a lot."
Yeah, she could definitely bend it in an unnatural way.
Or could you like constrict the blood, like cause some sort of like damage that way? I don't know. Blood bending, it's not good.
Could she stop it from flowing? I don't know. Ooh, I don't like.
Yeah, don't go down that rabbit hole. I've stopped the blood from flowing in your body.
Whoa. Okay, moving on. So what did you think about her being face to face with the man who killed her mother? And like how she handled that?
Can you refresh me on exactly what happened?
Oh, God.
So Yanra is this like gross, sad little man who's like gardening in the front yard.
He's not that little.
Well, he's like scrawny. He's of a fine height.
Yeah, and his mom's like yelling at him.
I was like, he lives with his mom.
Yanra!
Yeah. Okay, so then he goes to the market. It feels like he's being watched. And he's
Because
like,
he is being watched.
And he's like walking home, and he's paranoid, being watched.
So yeah, Yanra freaks out. He turns around, sets a bush on fire, and then Zuko pops out of presumably another bush. And his line to him is, "We weren't in the bush," or "We were never in the bush."
Yeah.
Which is quite the line to say to a homicidal maniac.
And so then Katara's like, "Do you know who I am?"
He's like, "No."
Why would he? And same thing to say.
What an odd thing.
Yeah, and she's like, "You better know."
Like your life depends on it.
I mean, I guess he met her as a small child.
Yeah.
I met you for exactly 20 seconds when you were about 8 or 9.
Okay, were you awake for this episode? Does this sound familiar?
I was awake. It's just that I watched a good chunk of them at the same time, so it just all blends together. I'm just trying
See,
to...
and this is the problem with Countdown to the Comet, the promotional thing that Nickelodeon did where they aired a new episode every night for a week. Southern Raiders was on Thursday, Ember Island Players was on Friday. It's too much. It's too much Avatar in a week. How dare you, Nickelodeon?
That's right.
Agreed.
So yeah, ultimately, Katara is ready to kill this guy. She does like...
She stops the rain. The rain drops, and they become like little daggers, I guess.
Such a baller move to stop the rain.
The daggers.
So cool. But again, I think this episode's let down from being a moi animation and not a JM animation. It could have been a lot better because there were some funky moments in Southern Raiders, like where Aang's talking about how he hopes Katara chooses like to let go and to forgive, and then like everything's still. And then as he gets partway through his little monologue, all of a sudden like the wind rustles up, and him and Sokka are just like majestically like flowing in the wind. It's not good. Moi, you suck. So then she shoots down the daggers to Yanra, and then right before they're about to skewer him like a kebab, she just turns it back into water, and then he's like,
We would like your reaction, ma'am.
Do you wish she would have...
I mean, did I think Katara was going to kill him? No, it's a children's show.
But what a dark turn.
Just barely.
And Katara is not a bad character, but we did see her bloodbend, so it is a little intense at that point. But it was powerful. Obviously not super memorable for me at the time, maybe because I was like...
Partway through a binge.
Okay, Katara. It was sad, like, seeing her mom, like, die. I kept thinking her mom was going to pop up later. And so I was like, oh, nope.
Yeah, because they never really address, like, how she died. You just know that she's gone. But, right, it's kind of like the same idea with Zuko's mom. Like, no one really knows where she's at. So hopefully it could have been the same thing with Kaya. Mm-hmm. So Katara and Sokka's mom, her name Kaya, is the same name as the concept name that Katara was going by. Up until the unaired pilot episode, then they changed it to Katara. So she almost was Kaya. Also, where was Gran in the Southern Raiders episode? Couldn't she have like had a cameo? That grumpy old woman.
Justice for Gran.
Gran's terrible. She's a bad character.
I'm also remembering that the voice actor for Kaya was also very distracting to me because I couldn't place where I knew her voice from.
Did you look it up?
I did, and now I'm trying to remember. I feel like she's a voice in Kipo and the Wonder Beast. Which, have you guys seen Kipo?
No.
It's on Netflix. It's really cute. Sterling K. Brown is Kipo's dad, and Dan Stevens of Downton Abbey fame is the bad guy. He plays like a mandrill. Yeah, I recommend Kipo and the Wonder Beast, but I don't think that's what I knew her from, though. But that is what I had watched most recently that she'd been a voice in. But it was like, I just like was just like, how do I know this voice? It's so familiar to me.
It was you, Jessica. You are the voice of Kaya. who's this woman?
Yeah. And then I tried Googling Kaya, and then I was getting, like, spoilers for Korra, so I stopped.
Jessica.
It's like, God, multiple characters with the same
I
name.
have been really worried about spoiling, like, the finale with Jessica and Troy, but also it doesn't really matter because it's about the journey. It's about this experience, you know?
Well, I still don't think you should do it.
I'm not going to. Well, I was... So, Jessica, so this is what happens.
Just spoils it right now. This is what happens.
A couple things. So, in Southern Raiders, it's the first time in the series that Aang says the names of Aang and Katara, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, he never says...
that Aang?
Sorry, it's the first time Zuko says the names of Aang and Katara. Like, he never says their names before then.
Was he just like, hey, you?
Yeah, like, especially, like, in Western Air Temple, like, when he addresses Aang after Sokka and Katara, like, kind of berating him, he looks to Aang and goes, what about you? You've been kind of quiet. What do you think? Like, doesn't even, like, say anything.
I mean, I guess they never really introduce themselves, do they?
Yeah, because, I mean, how would that introduction be? Like, hey, my name's Katara. I'm from the Southern Water Tribe. I mean, you kind of, like, it's like that thing when you kind of befriend somebody that's been kind of, like, orbiting you a little bit. You're like, well, we kind of already know each other. I don't need to tell you my name.
Right, I picked up on what your name is. Okay.
I would like to talk about Whaletail Island and how it's the worst place in the Avatar universe. Every time I hear about Whaletail Island, I cringe, and a part of my soul dies, kind of like a Horcrux. It splits off from my soul and then dies.
You don't like Whaletail Island?
I despise Whaletail Island. I hate
the name.
Yes, I hate everything about it. I hate that it reminds me of things that were going on in the mid 2000s.
Called Whale Tales.
Yes.
Like, literally, all I can think of is Manny from Degrassi every time you say Whaletail.
Right. And you're like, was this on purpose? Like,
absolutely, it was on purpose.
Like, what's up with this creative team? Yeah. Well, like I said, whatever. Nickelodeon. All of them.
What would you rename it?
Anything. Crescent-shaped island. Anything. I would name it anything. Dolphin. Dolphin tail. Dolphin tail. That's fine. Porpoise tail.
That's true. Orca tail.
Yeah.
Be more specific.
Anything. Also, let's talk about whales really quick, because in the Avatar universe, everything's a dual animal, like pig rooster. You know, everything's two. Platypus bear.
Right.
There's no whales.
Oh, right.
There's no whale. So, you know what? Team.
Yeah.
Double bad. Yeah.
Whale shark tail. Shark whale tail.
Yeah, they have like giant koi whales or koi fish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so elephant koi. Elephant koi island.
Elephant koi island.
Thong island. Thong island.
Thong island.
G-string island would have been preferable.
Flip-flop island.
Butt floss island. I'm gonna go.
All right, we're moving on to the next.
What do you think about Ember Island Players, Jessica?
That was great.
Thank you. Tell me why.
So great to have a recap. I was like, this is insane that it's like a recap of literally like every single episode. Like, do they skip an episode in the recap? Like, they don't talk about the lady at the lake and pretending to be a spirit.
Yeah, none of that eco-terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that was the first one I thought of. Yeah, they didn't talk about eco-terrorism.
But Sokka does, like, he fills Aang in when he comes back in after the problematic kiss. He's like, oh, so this is what you missed. I think Combustion Man died. I got a sword. It's like, it's very well done and very funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious that, like, Sokka is just upset that, like, the jokes of his character are one note. And he's like, I have more dimension to my comedy. I literally screamed out loud and looked at Greg with the biggest grin on my face when they name-checked the cabbage salesman. And I was like, oh my god! And then I was hoping he was going to be, like, a stagehand in the back, but he was not, and that made me very sad.
I mean, I do think Cabbage Man should have shown up. Cabbage Man hasn't made an appearance in this show since the middle of season 2 in the Serpent's Pass. Have all the cabbages gone dry? Is he not peddling his wares in the Fire Nation?
It's just upsetting.
Right, shouldn't they have kept that going?
This goes back to Earth Kingdom boys. They're terrible. All the Earth Kingdom boys.
Right, cabbage salesman should have shown up, given them some cabbage. I don't know.
But there was another old man that was the star of the show in Ember Island Players, and that was like the special effects old dude who was like just making all the magic happen.
Yeah.
I love all the ribbon dancing, bending.
Have you ever done ribbon dancing?
No.
Katie has.
She's talented.
In the Tillamook production of Boy and the Iceberg, naturally.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking, I was like, has anyone tried to put on this play? Because it would be pretty funny. And obviously, like, semi-doable based on the stagecraft that they're using. And I think someone should stage their own version in real life. I think it would be amazing.
I mean, I know some people at the local community theater. I can make this happen.
Tear bending.
Okay, I also think that all the actors who were in this were all just fugly. Like, they were all so hard to look at. All of them.
That's mean. Toph was cute.
Toph was cute, that big, strong man. You could really cuddle up to him. I do want to talk about some of the voice actors, because the voice acting crew of the Ember Island Players is stacked. Like, girl Aang is Rachel Dratch.
Oh my gosh, how did I not pick up on that?
Yeah, I was like, wow, what are you doing here, Rachel Dratch? Like, every time I read that, I'm surprised. I'm like, what? How'd you get in there? My favorite one is the guy who voices Stage Zuko is Dante Bosco's older brother, Derek.
Oh, that's cute.
So...
I think it's funny that they get the wrong side for his, like, scar. And it's like, he's the prince of the Fire Nation. You're in the Fire Nation. How could they get a detail like that wrong?
And see, that's what makes it so funny. It's so funny, like, how wrong it all is. But they do pay homage to, like, actual kabuki theater with the stagehands who are coming in and out, like, kind of switching things out, because the way they're all dressed is like how kabuki was. And how kabuki was presented is actually, the idea was to make it seem like they were ninjas. And so this is actually why people in pop culture associate ninjas with wearing all black, because of kabuki. Because kabuki were trying to emulate how ninjas are. So a little nugget for us.
That's a nugget.
Wow.
So what did you think about the like possible foreshadowing at the end of the play?
Well, so when they're like at intermission and everyone's like clapping and like Team Avatar's like winning, and I was like, aren't these Fire Nation people? Why are they cheering for the Avatar? I'm very confused. And I was like, if this is pro Team Avatar, then how would they even be allowed to be like touring the Fire Nation? So then at the end, when everything goes bad and the Fire Lord takes over and defeats, I was like, and everyone's like cheering really loud. I was like, okay, now we're back on track. I was like, this makes much more sense. Because it was also funny too, because like all the Fire Nation kids were like dressing up as all the different Avatar characters, like cosplaying, and they weren't cosplaying as Fire Nation people, really.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. The end of the play made sense to me that, of course, they're like, this is what we think is going to happen. Fire Lord, how do you forget his name?
Ozai. Fire Lord Mark Hamill. But it was done by an Earth Kingdom playwright.
Done by an Earth Kingdom playwright, interviewing a bunch of people. But wasn't the troupe Fire Nation people?
They were, but I mean, isn't it kind of weird that like an Earth Kingdom playwright would be like, so we're going to write a play about how the world comes to an end?
He knew it'd sell.
But Earth Kingdom's under occupation by Fire Nation now.
He was a colony boy.
Yeah, maybe they recruited him to do it. We need you to write this.
And by recruited, forced him.
Yeah, like propaganda, and forced him to have Fire Nation be in a positive light. Because obviously, he does, like, highlight the good things Team Avatar's doing. I mean, when you watch it, you're not like, oh, these people are terrible. So it is kind of funny at the end that they are cheering that they get defeated, because you've seen no reason. They seem like a bunch of like bumbling kids that seem to like work out, like it works out for them okay, and then at the end
you watch it and you're like, oh, I can't wait to watch them lose. It's like Game of Thrones, man.
Yeah.
Well, dang, good stuff.
Okay, but it still ends on a somber note. How did it make you feel? Like you're ready for the finale?
Yeah, I am ready for the finale. I did want to keep watching.
Thank you for not.
Because it's like, what is going to happen with Aang and the Fire Lord and their big confrontation? Like, because like at this point, like, he's learning how to firebend, and we have the specter of the Comet coming. But otherwise, there's not really a long-term plan at this point, other than they, like, luckily broke out Sokka's dad, but the rest of everyone else is still in jail or prison or whatever.
Including, like, May and Ty Lee. Even the Boulder.
Also, what episode is it where Sokka is, like, hiding in the tent for Suki, and then Zuko comes in to talk to him.
Southern Raiders! One of the best scenes in that whole series.
I was like, wow, Sokka really has game where he's like got the robe.
No pants on. But he's got maybe some...
Yeah, I was like, this is very forward and sexual for this children's show.
Oh, I was ecstatic. I was like, Sokka, get it. You deserve this. Suki does too.
And was like Zuko oblivious to like what was happening, or is he just trying to ignore the awkwardness?
I'm going oblivious.
He doesn't like address it at all.
Well, Zuko's pretty asexual, so
Right.
he has no.
I mean, did we see him ever kissing May?
They do, but it feels wrong.
Yeah.
And I do think Katie's shipping Aang and Zuko a little bit.
Not Toph and Zuko?
I mean, you can. What do you think about Katara and Zuko?
I mean, it does feel like Katara and Zuko have more chemistry than Zuko and May. I agree that Aang and Zuko have a lot of chemistry. I kind of like Sokka and Zuko as a pair.
I think there's a big sect of the fandoms like really into that idea. Yeah, they're great bros.
Do they have a ship name?
I don't know.
Sauko?
Soku. Zuka?
Zuka?
Probably Zuka.
It's probably Zuka.
Okay.
Oh, man. Delightful. Oh, and then another great line when Sokka's talking about how his first girlfriend turned to the moon. Zuko, that's rough, buddy.
It is rough.
So, what is your overall take of the series up to this point? Are you happy that you've finally been introduced to the world of Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Yes. I'm happy. And like looking back in the earlier, like again, it would be interesting to now go back and do a rewatch knowing what I know now. I do think each season got better and better. Like third season, I was like, this is crazy how much I'm like into this. Not crazy like how good it is, but just like, I guess it gets more serious and more real stakes the longer. And you like really understand that there are like some really bad people, but then even just the details we get around Azula, I don't know, it's much more satisfying. Like Zuko, the entire time, even from the beginning, you could just sense that he was going to be a good guy eventually. Like you could tell he was conflicted, and that maybe it was because Uncle Iroh you knew was a good guy from the beginning, so you're like, he's obviously not the big bad. So by the time it kind of switches and Azula takes the lead as more of the bad character, I think that's really when it locked into gear for me. And at first I hated Azula, and then the more we saw Azula, she really started growing on me, even though I think she is a psychopath and a terrible person. But she was just such a fun villain character that I think that really, like... Whereas, like, Zuko's so, like, emo that it's never, like, that fun or compelling to see him defeated, because you're just like, oh, Zuko.
Kick him wise down. Yeah, it will be interesting to hear what your take is when the inevitable rewatch happens with Avatar.
Yeah.
The extra depth to when Aang asks Katara to go penguin sledding with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got 4 episodes left. I will tell you right now that the 4-part finale is called Sozin's Comet. What happens?
The comet misses, and it turns out everything's okay. Can you imagine?
Aww.
Like, it's just like all this lead up for nothing.
It's just a 4-part epilogue. Ozai, like, finds the error of his ways. He's like, he writes a letter. He actually caught Haki, writes a letter to Zuko apologizing with Haki, sends it back.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is just about, like, Uncle Iroh opening his tea shop, and then, like, it's just, like, drama in the tea shop.
It's just like a sitcom. It's just a normal, like,
Yeah.
oh no. Zuko, I told you it's jasmine tea. Ba-dum, psh, ka. Good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I guess Uncle Iroh, I hope it's the next episode. I'm really missing him. Do you think they, like, kind of wrote him out of the season because the voice actor died?
I don't think they've ever, like, confirmed anything. They have confirmed in the past that the reason that Iroh doesn't talk at the beginning of the season is because of the betrayal with Zuko, but I'm assuming they kind of give him a back seat because it's not Mako voicing him anymore. And it just, every time you hear Iroh speak, there is just something off because it's not that same warm Mako voice that we're used to. But still, I feel like Iroh could have been a great contribution to season 3, personally.
Right, so maybe that's not, I don't know. Maybe they just decided, whatever, they've been making bad decisions all the time. So who knows if that even
Whale Tail Island.
God, yeah, no. We should have a grievance episode. I mean, we've been grieving.
Oh, we could have a grievance episode. Do you think all of the cast will get a happy ending?
Yeah, I think Azula is going to be really happy at the end of all this. Do you consider her part of the cast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Violet Ozai is going to be so happy at the end. Do I think Azula... What do I think would happen with Azula? Because it's like, what? I don't think they're going to kill her. So what, is she like in jail? That seems intense. I don't know.
Will she get a redemption arc in these last 4 episodes?
I think if she does, unless it's done very well, it'll be like, this is BS. There's no way. Like, there's nothing building to show that Azula at any point regrets anything that she's ever done. So I don't see how she could have a redemption arc unless somehow Team Avatar was able to give her more power, but they would never give her more power. So how would she ever want to be on their side? And I don't think losing Mai and Ty Lee and like imprisoning them is going to change her tune.
We have an issue with Aang. He's been posed the question by Zuko, what is he going to do when he faces his father? Because Aang has expressed that he doesn't think that revenge is necessarily the answer. And so he's kind of at this dilemma of killing Ozai or not. What do you think Aang's decision will be? If and when they meet. Maybe they won't. I've never seen the show before.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't meet.
Jordan's never seen it. He doesn't know what happens. Just like the book.
I feel like, what do I think? What's my prediction? I can't really see Aang killing him, especially after they establish that that's not really a thing that he should be doing. But then it's like, how are you going to stop him? So maybe Iroh or Zuko will step in at the last moment and kind of have the final blow.
Oh, man. Zuko's like...
Or maybe it'll be like an accidental, like, push off a cliff, where it's like, oh no, I didn't mean to, and then he's, like, gone.
Kind of like a Gaston. Like, he goes to kill Aang. He's like...
Yeah, like a classic Disney villain death.
You don't think Katara and Toph, girl power...
I would love... Toph would be very Game of Thrones, like when Arya takes down the Night's King. It's like Toph shows up and just kills Ozai. You're like, wait a second, that's not who I thought was going to do this.
That would be great. Now I'm wishing that was happening.
Maybe it is.
But it doesn't tell me that's what happens.
We got so much fan fiction to write now. All right. Well, I guess this is the calm before the storm 4-part finale. So kids, buckle up and we're going to get ready to experience Sosin's Comet.
Yeah, it's crazy. We started this, Jessica.
In January.
Pre-pandemic.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, one, how long it's taken us to like...
Right, it's like a year.
It's our 2020 project.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, yip.
Yip.
Yip, yip.
Yip, yip. Yip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.